Welcome student. This is an important class and this is a continuation from the last video that I have done where I have explained you what are the different elements which are required for creating a database application in Visual Basic.net. So if you have gone through that video, you will be understanding some of the terms that I have already used over there, and this video is the practical implementation of this one. So you can see that I have opened my Visual Studio over here and I have opened a Windows Form application. So there is nothing much right now here, just a Windows Form. So as you can see over here. Now what we need to do here is that we have to bring certain components over here so that it works with the database. The best thing about Visual Basic is that you actually doesn't have to write a single line of code and your database program will start working. You can add data, you can edit data, you can delete, update, all those things will start working provided you know what you will be doing. So first thing that we'll do today is that I will start right from the scratch, from creating a database to connecting to the database and then to the adding and everything. So this video, if possible, I will try to means finish everything in this video itself, or else we'll continue in another video. So let's start. So the first thing that we'll do is that we'll try to bring the we'll try to create a database. So you can create a database in any database application. So it can be MySQL, it can be Microsoft SQL, which is more friendly to the Visual Studio, or you can use MS Access, which is also friendly to the Visual Studio because both are made by the same company, that is Microsoft. So you can use any one of them. So here I'll be using the Microsoft SQL itself. So when you install the community edition, it comes as a part of it, the Microsoft SQL part. So let's see how we do it. So first thing that you have to do is that you have to add up your so-called your the database connections. So first thing that I would do over here, first you go to click on this one, all right. Then what you do is that you can click on these tools, all right, and there is an option called connect to database. Okay, so connect to server and connect to database, two options are there. Server means if you have a SQL server, then Microsoft SQL server, then you can directly connect by using this one. So we don't have such things. So what we'll do is that we'll say connect to database. So now see, you can see that it is saying Microsoft SQL server database SQL client. All right, so we don't have anything here right now in this computer. So what we'll do, we'll create a database file name. So I would like to keep this file also in a particular location. So click on the browse, all right, and maybe I would like to keep it in the yep, I would like to keep it over here only. Okay, so let's say I keep it in this document. So I give it as a sample data, sample uh, sorry, sample database. All right, so this is my database file, so I'll give okay, and you can see this is a Microsoft SQL Server database. So that's it. Okay, so if you want to give username password, which if you give, then you, when you connect to your database, you need the server authentication. I don't want that. Let the Windows authentication do the job for me. All right, so what I'll do is that I will just click on this okay. Okay, so the moment you click OK, it will say what, that this database file does not exist because it was not there. Okay, so what would you like to create it, and I would say yes to it. So let's create it. So it takes certain time for it to be created. All right, so if we are waiting, we are still waiting. I yep, okay, there is an issue. All right, so this was created. Okay, so that sample database, you can see that automatically it came to the Server Explorer, and you can see this sample database has been created. So what we'll do is that we'll click on this arrow. All right, and you can see this table. So right now there is no table. So a database contains table. So you can create your table. Just click on this table folder, right click on it, and you say add new table. So here, if you are familiar with SQL syntax, then you can create it by using, see, you can see that here it is saying create table dbo dot table. Right, so you can create a table by your own name by just changing over here this. So here at present they are only asking for ID, that is a which will be an integer. So these are also coming graphically. All right, so I would like to give this name like I want one dbo and all those things. So what I'll do is that I will use a name, maybe I will use this I'll give it as a name, let's student data. Okay, so that's the name of my table. So now under this id, which is a primary key, allow nulls, of course we don't want to allow because it's a primary key. You can see this one, this key over here indicates that this is a primary key. If you right click on it, you can remove the primary key. All right, so I don't want that right now. So let's say this is our id, then we want student name. So student student name. All right, which I want it to be any whichever data type you want, but of course we want it as a so-called your ncar 10. Okay, yeah, ncar 10 or let's say 20. All right, so 20. Then let's say I'll keep it very simple. Okay, student role, student address. Okay, so address, which is also I want ncar, so this will also be 20. All right, 20 means the character. Okay, how many character? Address, let's say just phone number. Okay, let it be number. I'm not bothered about the data type right now. So address, phone number, and let's say we have something else, let's say gender. Okay, so which also ncar 10, that's fine. Okay, so if you want to add some more data, you can add it up, means some more fields over here, you can do that. So once you're done with this, so you can see that these are auto created for you, isn't it? So over here, so what we'll do is that we will just execute this query. So you just click on this update database. So the moment you click, this script will be updated. Okay, so this name is like right now the script name is table.sql. So I'll just update. So there. Okay, so then you say update the database. So what it will do is that it will create a table here. So you are not seeing it over here, so what you have to do is that you have to refresh it once. Okay, so here is the key. So can you see this? Once I refresh it, so there is my student data. So these fields are already there. Now you want to add some data to it, just you can just click on not from here, of course. Okay, I will show you how you can add the data. So let me close all these things right now. Okay, so this is closed, so we are back to this form. Okay, now I want to bring this table. So now look at this one. You have to be very careful when you are doing this. This is a server explorer. Can you see that? So if I click on this table, see, if I try to drag it, can you see that this arrow is saying means it cannot be dragged over here, right? So that's because this is a server explorer. Please note that. Okay, so this is a server explorer. So from a server explorer, you cannot drag and drop it in your form. All right, so for that what we need is something else. We need the data source. So for that what you can do is that you can go to the so-called you can go from here itself. Okay, so you can go to the, sorry, yeah, view. Okay, you can go to the other windows. All right, and you can go to this one that is called data source. So remember, view, other windows, and you see data source. So here when you click on this data source, so it will ask you that add, and because right now there is no data source, so if you want to add, you can click over here, add a new data source, add a new, same thing. All right, so you can click over there. Okay, now you have various options, like you can add a database, you can add a service, or you can add a object, right? We want to add a database, so click on this, let it be. Okay, and if you remember the previous video, we talked about a data set. A data set, as it says, the database model you choose determines the type of data objects your application code uses. A data set fill will be added to your project automatically. All those things will be added to your project. So I want a data set. So if you remember, it's a disconnected database concept. All right, so you go through the previous video, you will understand the concept of database or data set. So click on this one. Now can you see this? It is taking sample database. Remember that that's the name of my database, right? Not the name of the table, again, to remind you. All right, if you're not happy with this table, you want to add another database, you just go for a new connection, and you can create it from here also. If you go for here, you can see the same thing that we have done before. All right, you can create a database from here. So my is already created, so sample database.mdb, right? So then show the connection string that you will be saving. So if you want to, this is very important, this connection string, because later on if you want to create so-called your means very customized application where you want to add, you want to edit, delete by using codes of your own, very customized one, then you would like to know the connection string. So you can just see the connection string, so that in for future you can copy it. So that's just to show. All right, so now it will ask you one thing here. It's what is asking is this: the connection you selected use a local data file that is not in the current project. So if you see in this current project, all right, so let me just let me Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll close this. Oh, sorry, this is already popped up. Okay, that's why. So if you notice over here, so let me just click here. Okay, let me just, oh, this is the window over here. Okay, let me just cancel this thing so that I will just drag this one just to show you something. Okay, so I want actually, yeah, there, just wait, yeah. So let me drag it till this point so you can see over here. Okay, now let me do the steps again. Add a new database, next data set, fine. This is my, if you want to see the connection, this is the one. Okay, now when I click on this, okay, so yes, save the connection as, so it will ask me to save the connection. Okay, so that's a good thing. Okay, now here are the tables. Okay, so what happened just now, before that it asks us whether you want to save the connection, because this was not a part of this one. Okay, so you can see that there is nothing called data set over here. So when I click on this one, you click on everything if you want. Okay, this what it means over here is that in your data set, do you want all the tables? Yes, right now there is only one table, student data. If you had 5 tables, all the 5 tables will be displayed over here. You want the views, you want the stored procedure functions. If you have them in your database, then automatically it will add it. I don't have it, but let me just select them all right. So let me click on finish. Okay, so now can you see this data set has just joined it, because that was a yes, means this database, sample database, has automatically come to this one, and this is our data set. Okay, now if I double click on this data set, you can see that student, remember that student, it has got id, student name, this one. This is a virtual representation of the actual database. Thus, if you remember the topics that I have already discussed in the previous video, what a data set looks like. So here is a virtual representation of the actual database. Okay, so now let's go back to our data source. Okay, so here this is the, so again, to make you very clear with this one, see, this is my form, this is what server explorer. So if I go for my data connection, this is disconnected right now, and I click on this one. Okay, if you want to activate your connection, you just right click. Okay, and you can refresh also, there it is. Right, now if I drag, I cannot. Why? That's a server. Okay, so what do, you click on the data source that you have done. So now can you see this one? So there is the table, right? So just click on this one. You see, Visual Basic makes your life so easy. Just click, drag and drop, many things will come up. These things has come up, this has come up, right? And you haven't written a single line of code yet. Okay, so I'll just make it exactly the same. Maybe I'll make it a little bit bigger, because these things are already there, gender is there. So let me drag it. Yep. Okay, now can you see all these things has come up by just dragging? I did not do anything. Now let me run my project. You see, it's so simple. Right, so I have created a database. Okay, now here is my, let me, I'm running it, just wait for some time. Let's wait for some time and you'll see. All right, so here, can you see this? We have this database over here. Can you see this? Now if I want to add a record, just click on this one. There is one problem that I have, this one, because it cannot be not null. So if you remember, your column ID cannot be null, so you cannot add a record if it's null. So let's continue. So what we need to do now, here is, so you saw a problem popped up, because it is saying that it is not allowing an empty, this one, right? So let me just again run it again. So here I will just say 1. Okay, then let's say I click on student name, let's say ABCD, fine, address XYZ, then phone number, some numbers, gender male, fine, and I click on this plus. Okay, so there adds another record, so let's say 2. Okay, let's say QWERTY. Okay, I'm just naming them. Okay, PVP, this is some numbers, some again, oh, okay, here I missed out. I think we male, right? Then here let's say female. All right, now I have 2 records over there. Then I click on this save. So this record is saved now. So see, I close it again, I stop my program. Okay, now again I run it. Okay, so can you see these two records? Now this is the beauty of this particular Visual Studio code, sorry, Visual Studio, is that we haven't written a single line of code and my database had started work. I created a database through the Visual Studio code, Visual Studio. I have added a record by creating an application. If you want, I can delete a record. So I click on this one, just click on this cross, right? Then you update it, save the data. So now if I stop it, all right, then I start again, you can see that the record is deleted. So it adds a record, it deletes a record, it saves a record, right? You can update a record. Let's say I made a change to this one. Let's say I make a change to this XYZ. So let's say I make it as PQR, right? And I save it. Okay, just to show you, I close it again and again I run it. Now can you see that it saves as a PQR? So that's because, so that means it's updating a record, deleting a record, inserting a record. All these things are happening without writing a single line of code so far. But here there are also certain problems. So for that I will make another video where I'll explain you what happens, means why we need to actually customize our database so that we can add a record according to our wish. This is a simple one where you can add, edit, delete. Okay, I will show you some problems. One more thing I would like to actually continue with this one, like just 1 minute. One more thing I would like to show you. Let me delete everything. Okay, let's say I delete everything, delete. Okay, I see, you click on this one, delete. So these are also I don't want it, so just select all of them like this and you delete. So it's back to that normal that blank form, right? Let's go to the data source. Now if you have noticed that what happened just now is that I click so that it comes here. So this is my data source and this is my server. So if you remember, when I dragged it, it became like a grid view, right? I don't want it as a grid view. I want it in a text box and button and all those formats. So what you do is that click here. So by default it's a grid view. All right, so instead of this you click on this details. So once you click on details, notice what happens. I click now here and I drag it. Okay, same from the data source. Okay, from the data source, click and drag it. Now notice that this one has become in a text box format, not in a grid view. If you like your application to appear like this, you can do this the same thing. Now remember, this was the only record. So if I want to add a record again, all right, you just have to click on the plus, all right, and then you can just click on adding a record. Suppose I want to add another record, maybe uh, just 1 minute. Okay, yeah, okay, so can you see 2 has come up? So let's say 2, all right, student name NNN, just for the sakes, BBB. So let's say phone number, gender, right, and I click save. So I just to show you, there were 2 records now, right? So I stopped it, I run it. So I can see my first record, say 1 of 2. I click on this one, I go to the next record, that is the one that I have entered. So it's up to you now. You can see so easy it was. I haven't written a single line of code and I can decide how my database looks like, also whether it's a grid view you want or whether in a detail format you want. So you can do all these things in a Visual Studio. In our next video I will show you how you can make your customized buttons over here and you can write code in your customized way. What if it clicks, how you can do that. For that you have to understand the other concept. Now here are certain thoughts for you. You can see that this is a data set, right? So if you have gone through my previous video, please understand what is this data set now by doing this exercise, okay, on your own. Here is something called adapter. If you remember the table adapter, this is the student data table adapter because my table here is the student data. Can you see that? I'm going to do this one. Okay, so I want you to go through them, okay, and you try to understand what this is the practical part and that was the theory part. So try to sync them together and try to understand what we did today. So in the next video I'll do some more complex thing about this. So for now, thank you.